Alrighty, so really, that was a great conversation with Jojo and Rue so far, and honestly, like, I feel like I've learned so much because there's just so much that I personally have never experienced. And while, I would say, like, I try to be positive, at the same time, I'm not going to be ignorant to these sorts of issues,
Right.
which I feel like with many Lolitas, that's kind of like the mindset that they take.
Yeah.
So really what I want to hear is some of your real life experiences or online too, for example. So just in general, like out in the wild, have you had any instances of just negative experiences? It doesn't have to be with just regular folk. It could just be with other regular Lolitas.
So your question is just negative experiences in the fashion in general?
Yeah. Yeah, well, just out in real life, since, a lot of us are cooped up. Um so let's just try to think about when we're outside.
Oh gosh, it's been 84 years. Oh my gosh. And with this being said, of course, goes without saying, like, I have had so many positive experiences in the fashion, and this goes without saying,
Right.
and without too overly dramatic, but like this fashion did like save my life. Like this fashion helped better me as a person and really taught me to love myself in a way that I've never loved myself before. And like this fashion really makes me feel so beautiful. Like I don't think I'll ever stop being into Lolita fashion personally, just because of how much it's done for me. And I know that we're talking about some heavy stuff, but I don't say the heavy things because I'm just bitter. I say it because it hurts me so much because this is a fashion that I love, a fashion that I've spent hundreds, thousands of dollars into. And
Not
it
even just monetary, just a lot of time into it. I mean, you've
yeah,
made that whole dress and the head bow, like that's time.
like when you put so much love and time into something and in the community hurts you sometimes, it hurts deeper. When something you love hurts you, it really hurts. And that's why so many of us are hurt, and even some of us that are hurt that are not even willing to admit that we're hurt because of people ridiculing us and not taking us seriously. But it does hurt me so deeply because this is something that is so near and dear to my heart. But with that being said, as far as like negative experiences, I'll bring up just two quick ones.
Okay.
So when I was in university, I actually took a break from school because COVID, but also like it was hard for me to work full time and also go to school full time. And with being in the fashion costume design program, it requires a lot of hands-on work that I could not give. I couldn't design dance pieces and also work 40 hours a week. I couldn't mentally do it. But at the time I was working on my portfolio for my portfolio review coming up. And I needed some pictures of me sewing because, it's just cute to have them in your portfolio. And I actually decided I was going to wear Old School Sweet for my pictures because, everyone in the department knows that, like, oh, Rue's the Jfashion girl. I'm non-binary, use they, them pronouns, but they're like, oh yeah, Rue's they like the Japanese clothes. So I was like, I'm gonna live my truth and wear one of my coats on campus, which is not something I do because college kids are kind of stinky and dirty, and I don't want to get dirty or anything like
they
that.
don't necessarily, at least not verbally care, but like
yeah, I'm like, no, I'm not getting anything messed up. And I took some pictures and I got Uber back to my apartment because like the roads are fine, but there's not a lot of sidewalk, and I did not want to risk walking on the street back to my apartment and like the buses where I live don't run very frequently. I was like, oh, whatever. I got my huge portfolio and all my sewing stuff. I'll just take an Uber back. And I took an Uber back to my apartment, and the woman in the car was, ironically enough, like she was a white woman, but she was mortified. She was just like, oh, you're coming from the costume department, right? This is a joke. Like, you're wearing those clothes as a joke. Like, it's a costume, right? Like, you wouldn't actually wear something like that in public. Jordan was there. So it was like validating because I was like, that actually just happened to me. And
it was weird.
It was really unprovokedly
like,
weird. But she hated that I was wearing these clothes. I don't know if she thought it was like something inappropriate. Hopefully not. actually wanted to explain to her, like, oh, actually, this, but she wouldn't even hear me.
She didn't.
She was just like, yeah, so it's cost. And that was I had never experienced anything like that before. I usually don't experience a lot of harassment outside of like random people trying to take my pictures and I flip them off, or people trying to touch me and like lift up my skirt and touch my hair, which, but bring that up because I actually, I went to Paradiso, the last Paradiso that happened, I believe in 2019, and I volunteered because I've actually, I used to do stuff for Colossal Con, and I've done stuff for like mini cons as far as like con op stuff. So I was like, oh, I have a little bit of experience. I will volunteer to help with Paradiso and stand at the door. And I did not realize what I was getting myself into, and I don't regret it. But I stood at the door, and it was in the middle of, what is it called? The Grand Central Station. And because the way that Paradiso was set up, there was like a hallway room in the back, and it was really vast and big. But on the outside, all you see is just me standing in the middle of Grand Central Station from like people. And a lot of tourists are there. So a lot of people came up to me, were trying to touch my hat, trying to touch my hair, taking pictures of me, asking me really inappropriate questions. But I had to stand there so other Lolitas could see where Paradiso was, because like you could not really see where it was.
It was in the cut.
Yeah, just because of how the Grand Central Station is. And I experienced a lot of harassment that day.
Wow.
But I was glad it was me, because I do have a pretty sound resolve, and I know how to just keep my cool. And I know that there are other Lolitas who would get super anxious, super nervous. And it's like, you know what? If it's going to be anyone, I'd rather it be me. Like, I'd rather it be me because I know I can take it. But even that was a lot. Yeah. It was a lot. And it was specifically for most of my shift. That's all they had me do was stand there. And it's fine. But
and that in itself is horrible. Like, why should you put yourself at the brunt of these forces? Like, it's just so horrible how this is something that really like, Black folks in general, it's almost like they kind of trained themselves to do it because they want to protect others. And even that is like just heartbreaking to hear.
I mean, I don't fault anyone, and I'm not even upset at anyone for it, because like, I mean, and this is something I'll talk about later, because I've talked about this with Jordan for weeks now, but like I love my community. Even though it might not love me, I love my community. And if me being someone that someone can see and find comfort at the Grand Central Station because they're lost, if I could just help a Lolita get to their destination, I'm okay with that. Because I love my community. I want to help my community. Yeah, it was uncomfortable standing out there. And there was another Lolita who wanted to stand out there, but she was getting so anxious. She was shaking. And I actually took over her shift for her. And I was like, I'll do it. Don't worry about it. And that's okay. Because that's what, when you love your community, that's what you do. And like, I had no problem doing it. Had to be done. But yeah, having tourists from wherever just come up to me, take pictures, lift up my dress. Like, I think I wore my long bloomers that day. So I was like,
in what world is that appropriate?
Wow. But I had to I had my parasol with me, and I was just like, back up. Like, I will actually hurt you. And just had to be like, I'm not taking pictures. It is a fashion gala. We wear like modern day historical clothing. Please be respectful. Don't follow back there. Tickets only. Like, I was just, don't go back there. But that harassment was just very like, I forget that people who don't wear alternative fashions act like that. Because for me, I'm like, oh yeah, a person's wearing clothes. But when you don't have a trained eye, you're just like, what is that? Hey, with some stairs, but you know, tourists are weird. So yeah, I would say those are my two experiences of just like randos being like, why are you wearing clothing that is different than what I'm used to you wearing? Right. How dare you dress this way? It makes me uncomfortable.
Now, how about two positive moments that really just like touched their heart?
Usually children will call us princesses at cons.
My favorite. And it'll
for some reason for us, it'll usually be children of color.
Yes, all the time.
It already means a lot when it's, white child, but like when it is a child of color specifically, it just hits different.
It do.
But Yeah, it's usually those are the ones that I remember the most, and like if not like little children like 5, 6, 8. I know Rue at one con was talking to like a teenager who wanted to be in the fashion, and that was really heartwarming for me. Not because I'm Rue's more the talker. I'm very quiet. If I am talking, it's usually because there's a problem and somebody needs to stop.
Oh, Jesus.
So talk about with Paradiso, because there was this guy who was just not being cool, and he was taking like flash photography, and I was like, hey, you can't do that. But other than that, like not really somebody who like not like necessarily reaches out. It's not that I don't care about people coming into the fashion. I love when people come into the fashion, but I'm very nervous. And Rue, even though they do get nervous, they are more extroverted than I am. But the children really make it for me, and like the teenagers who I see myself in, it's just really heartwarming, because you just think about like, they're gonna remember that.
Yeah.
And it's a positive experience. I want them to remember more so the positive experiences, even though negative ones should be acknowledged and should be dealt with.
Yes.
I want them to remember Lolitas for being, like those princesses or whatever. Even though that one kid at the Chinese buffet called me a grandma, I'll take it.
Grandma? Were you wearing grandma K or something?
No. No. I was in an innocent world poodle dress, and I had the little maxi pad thing on, and I had my like up, and he was like, they misgendered me, but they don't know my pronouns, obviously. They're like, they look like grandma, and I was like, I'm gonna just pretend I didn't hear that, and I'm just gonna my food.
Wow, is that a compliment? I guess.
I'm like, yeah, but also not in the way that you think. I'm not just out here LARPing as a grandma. I promise you.
Not LARPing, I'm dead.
I'm done.
So many, like it happens to me actually quite often. It feels surreal. I think the last positive one I had was at round 1.
Yeah.
And this little black girl would not stop staring at me. Aww. She was just hi, and like I always do this thing, and it's probably because I'm black, but I always see a girl and I'm like, oh, hi, you're so cute. I love your hair. And I was talking to her, and she was like, thank you. And she ran away. And I was like, okay, I'm awkward. I get it. She comes back with her mom and her mom's sister. I'm sitting with Jordan, and she's like, hi, my baby girl just loves your hair. She just loves how you look. Like, you want to, so look, and she got all shy. She was like, no, you wanted to talk to her. Like, here she is. And I was so taken aback. I was like, that's my daughter now. Like, that's my like, she was so cute. I've had I was featured in one of Lovely Lor's videos, and it actually made like a bunch of people recognize me locally, which was really very, very surreal. Like, I have friends that I didn't even know knew what Lolita were. Like, freaking Noah's wife was like, hey, bro, I saw you in Lovely Lor's video. I was like, you know who Lovely Lor is? Right. Like, it was, and I had this like teenage girl in like the school uniform outfit come up to me, and all I provoked was like, are you rude tonight? And I was like, I had to do it. What?
Now we're used to it, but that was like one of the first times I was like,
I don't consider myself like really an influencer or someone who's popular, and like
you're an inspiration, Rue. Quite honestly. You really are.
Inspiration, very different.
Like, I personally am just someone who vibes. If you know me, that's cool. Like, I will tell you what I know. We can take pictures and just like chill. Like, I'm not one of those like, look at me, I'm so popular. Like, I don't care. I'm just here for a good time, and I just here for people in the community to feel comfortable. If I could do anything, I just want people to feel like they belong. But having people know me was really weird. And this girl, she was so nervous, and I could tell she was just like, I really love. I loved your coordinate, and I think I saw you around. I really want to get to the fashion. And I was just like, I'll tell you what I can, and I'll talk about that later, because I actually want to make a resource, but I haven't been able to because mental health, and I've been busy. But just I've actually had quite a few people just come up to me just as a fat person being like, I didn't know that you could wear this and be fat. And I'm like, yes. Even at Paradiso, when we were out with it was me, you, was Derry Lou there? Kombucha was.
Yeah.
There's a couple of Black Lolitas we got together. We went out to eat at Paradiso, and this one girl just would not stop staring at me. And then she just comes up. I am so sorry. I know you guys are eating. How do you get into Lolita? And you're plus size. How do you do that? And I was just like, yeah, I'll have a minute. And I was like, turn around. And like, it happens a lot. And it makes me feel good knowing that, like, first of all, people see me and they think I'm pretty. Like, right. I've always struggled with physical, like, appearance issues, and people being like, wow, you're so beautiful. I'm like, you think I'm pretty? Wow. But then also people being like, wow, you inspire me. How do you do this? Like, I want to be like you. And that just, it feels good to know that people see themselves in me. Mm-hmm. And I tell, gosh, there's so many people. Like, there was that one teenager at round one another day who was like, I love you and your girlfriend's outfits. And I was just like, you can wear it too. And they were like, no, I can't. And I was like, you can. You can do whatever you want. Like, just.
What was that, like a Deku or something?
Oh my God. And you were a Deku cosplayer. Yeah, but just like telling people that they can, and that them seeing me and JoJo go out in public and just unapologetically be themselves can just give them that extra confidence boost. Yeah. Like, I love just giving that hope in people and just giving that confidence, because I didn't have that. I didn't have people on my court telling me you can do whatever you want, and that don't care what people say, but just reminding people, like, you know, Lolita fashion is about loving yourself and dressing for yourself. You can absolutely do it, and I will support you. Tag me in your courts. I will hype you up. Like, I'm really that person. Like, I want to see people thrive, and knowing that I have that ability to just give that love to other people, just, and it feels so good to just know that, like, you make someone feel good about themselves, you know? I'm sorry. I mean, so good.
You keep blowing me away.
I was like, it's really weird. Like, it's not weird like in a bad way, but like, I never thought that someone like me, someone as awkward and weird as me, could ever make someone feel good about themselves. And the fact that people have been like, it's almost like every con I go to now, people recognize me. And it's so surreal, because I'm like, I am a weirdo on the internet that wears frilly dresses. And I don't even do it that much. Like, are you kidding me? Like, you know me for this? Like, it's so weird. But also just knowing that it's me. Because I can't speak for other people, but I know that I'm a genuine person. And I know that I genuinely just want the best for people. So, you know, like, I don't know. I'm glad that it's me, but also I feel like it could be anybody. Just like, be nice to people, and like, you know, but like, it does just make me feel good knowing that, like, people are seeing people be so unapologetically themselves, and knowing that they can do the same. Like, it just makes me feel.
Honestly, you're making me blush and get emotional here. Oh man, that was, you keep blowing me away. You keep blowing me away. Oh man, JoJo, do you want to say anything? I wouldn't be able to after that.
Besides like the whole kids thing, I will say that my experience as OG-sama was pretty nice. Although it was surprising, because we had practiced that whole routine, and it wasn't that I didn't think that we were good, because we were, but I didn't know the competition ahead of me. Like, I just knew, like, once the princes and such were revealed is when I knew who I was up against. Other than that, I was like, whoa. And then when we did our skits and whatnot, that was during rehearsal. That was the only time I knew. So I was like, and I've been performing for quite some time. So I was like, I mean, I don't really get stage fright, but I am very nervous. So once the music stops, I'm like, please don't trip, please don't trip. And just the overwhelming amount of just like acceptance, I guess you could say, it was really nice. And like, not even the fact that, like, you know, winning or whatnot, like it would have been, we were like, oh, it would be nice to win, but we just want to have fun sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I thought that me winning was just like, what? Because like before the other pageants, again, I didn't really see people who looked like me winning the pageants or participating in the pageants, really. So it was refreshing to not only see that people had such a wonderful response to a lesbian couple of all things, competing, but also, as far as I know, being the first Black Oji-sama of the Midwest was
making history, baby.
Woo.
I really appreciate
Man. I really hope I can go to Paradiso whenever it's safe to go. I really hope, because honestly, like, I miss y'all. Have y'all either of y'all been to Rufflecon?
No,
we literally wanted to go, and the year we were gonna go, they
It was one
canceled.
ridiculous. Oh man, I will admit, like, in my opinion, of all like the cons that I've been to, like Rufflecon was probably like the most like memorable for me. So I really hope Paradiso, gets a little bit more, not bigger per se, just more programming and such. So I mean, Tekko I'm hearing is a great con also for Jfashion. So hopefully when things settle.
I used to live in Pittsburgh, and I was like low-key a part of the Jfashion community in Pittsburgh, but it was very brief when I went to school. Because I went to college. I went to the Art Institute of Pittsburgh for fashion. And I lived in Pittsburgh for like a couple years, and like I actually met some it's so wild to think about how like two of my friends have like blown up in Jfashion. I'm like, we were just nerds. It's just so funny. Yeah. But those are like my ex. I'm like, why are you popular? Be quiet. But anyways, but like the Jfashion community in Pittsburgh is phenomenal. Jojo's phone is dying.
Oh no.
Okay. Am I still here? Okay.
I'm still here.
Do you want to get your charger?
I would have to reposition everything because it is not friendly for chargers. Yeah. It wouldn't even stretch either. So we're gonna have to like die.
Okay. But I guess we should move on to the next topic. Finish up.
I'm gonna
answer. But yeah, Tekko was great. I've been to Tekko plenty of times. I used to go to Tekko when it was called the KoshiCon. It's chef's kiss.
I can't. Right. So I guess one of the segments that I'm a little bit excited of talking about, and I think maybe y'all might be a little bit hesitant to talk about, but I feel it is a important topic. So really about white influencers. So apologies, allyships, all that jazz. So recently, a lolita YouTuber, Lovely Lor. Obviously, we're not gonna sugarcoat it. Apologize for her one of her actions. So for the audience that either doesn't really know what happened, or at least from y'all point of view, what happened, could you just elaborate or like tell folks what happened with Lovely Lor?
Recently. So basically what happened is that Lovely Lor was found to have liked, whether it was by accident as she claimed or not, a photo of I believe was some sort of fashion person that she was following in front of the Capitol when a bunch of, to put it blankly, fascists storming the Capitol and police letting them in. I cannot stress this enough. And she said that it was an accident. She didn't know that she was following up somebody like that. She's not really aware of things going on in the US right now, and essentially like feigning ignorance on the situation. She called for a bunch of people of color to educate her, and that did not go well. She did a lot of apologies, mostly on Twitter. A lot of this stuff, like her, apologizing and such, happened on Twitter. I didn't even know, as I was looking at the questions, I didn't know she made an apology video, and I'll get into that later. But yeah, it was essentially like, whether it was an accident or not, she still, it was still a cause for concern, and people did call her in about this. And yeah, that's pretty much it. It was just, she was called in about liking this person's picture. She feigned ignorance and then later was like, I'm sorry, yada, yada, yada. I don't know the degree or validity of her apologies after originally like backpedaling and her saying it was an accident. I don't know anything about that, just because I unfollowed her for quite some time, just because, I just didn't like how she had a lot of lukewarm approaches to a lot of very serious issues that should be faced head on and be not only not tolerating it, but being vocally intolerant to it. I just didn't vibe with that. So I was just like, no. So, yeah.
You have anything to add, Rue?
For me, so I haven't seen her apology video because, as you know, I am taking a break from social media because a lot has happened. And I'm using this to kind of segue to what I want to say. So I actually kind of saw everything unfold at once. Yeah. I was on Twitter as things were happening. And so it was a lot for me. Like, again, everything that happened in DC was just a reminder that, like, Black lives in this country really don't matter, or not seen that have value, but, you know, our white counterparts, their lives do. I used to, like, gosh, like, not to sound like, ooh, but, like, I've worked with, like, nonprofit organizations. I've been on national TV. I've actually gotten, like, media training, though I don't remember quite all of it. And, like, you know, I've done a lot of stuff with nonprofit orgs, and I've actually been to DC. I actually was in DC when Pulse happened with a nonprofit organization at the time, and it was terrifying because we thought that there were going to be some, like, anti-LGBT hate crime stuff happening. Like, I was in the nation's capital when Pulse happened. It was terrifying. I was with the Gay Men's Chorus in front of the White House when Pulse happened. We sung, we had candles. It was really intimate. It was wild. And, like, I've been to DC and I know the security that is there. Okay, I had to get, like, special tag just to lobby and, like, try to push for, like, comprehensive sex education and all that kind of stuff. Like, that's what I was doing at that time. So I know how severe it is. It's not easy. Like, special ops and, like, secret force are everywhere. So the fact that that happened, people don't really realize how, like how much BS it is. Yeah. And a lot of Black lolitas live in that area. Yeah. Either in DC,
predominantly Black.
Yes, either in DC or surrounding states. And, like, when all this was going on, you know, I had saw threads on Twitter saying that, you know, Ohio's capital was going to get raided and all this stuff. I was terrified. I live in a domino effect. And I live in a predominantly Black city. I live in Akron. And, like, we're one of, 3 counties in Ohio that voted blue in our full red-leaning state. Like, you know, Ohio's not a joke. You know, a lot of the stuff that happened with Black Lives Matter and how it started to snowball and become a really predominant movement happened because of police brutality in Ohio. Yeah. So I don't mess with stuff like that. I actually met one of the founders of Black Lives Matter, Alicia. Like, I met her in person. Like, we've talked. Like, this stuff is real. This is legit. And when all this was happening, I just kept thinking, like, I'm so scared for all of the Black, because, like, BlurredCon is up in DC and stuff. There's a lot of Black people out there, and a lot of fashions raiding our capital. And just to have to, like, to see that and me being like, I need to take a break from social media so much, like, I'm so stressed. And then also immediately see what Lor was doing. Yeah. Was, like, such a, like,
it was a slap in the face, especially considering her history with, because a lot of people may or may not know this, but, like, Lovely Lor is Canadian American. Not to say, like, oh yeah, I'm Canadian, but I moved to America. Like, no, she has dual citizenship, and she only recently moved permanently, more or less, I guess, to Canada. So it's not
from Los Angeles, correct? Or
it's not like she's familiar with these, you know, the capital. She's not unfamiliar. She might not be constantly looking at it, but, you know, given that she knows she has, like, quite a bit of American friends and stuff like that, like, and that she grew up, it's a privilege. It is a privilege for her to be all the way in Canada and also use the fact that she is Canadian to say that, like, I didn't know about the things going on, as if a lot of white Canadians will do this thing where it's like, well, I'm glad I'm not in America right now. Like, okay, that's a privilege.
But, like, let's talk about what's going on in Canada right now, actually. So with what I was saying, like, I saw that stuff with Lovely Lor, and I saw there was, like, a Black lolita that I'm mutuals with on Twitter, and how, like, they didn't have to give Lor resources and advice. You are literally a Lolita influencer who has Patreons, and people literally pay you. I am paying to literally just, like, I know you're not perfect because you're a human, but, like,
it's a history thing.
Like, I'm paying you to, like, maybe do a little bit more research. Like, you know how to shop on Taobao, but you don't know how to, like, anyways. But the fact that she was very much like, I didn't know. And I was like, no, that's a privilege, because there are Black Canadians. There are Indigenous Canadians. There were raids happening in Toronto at the same time. For you to have dual citizenship and still not be aware what's happening in either country is not because you are Canadian, it's because you're ignorant, willfully ignorant, and then having the privilege to be ignorant. I was aware of what was happening in BC because it affects me, my loved ones, my friends. You don't really know what's going on or just kind of brush it off because it doesn't affect you. And people can argue all the time, well, yeah, I'm gay and fascists hate gays. Yeah, they do. But when, and then there's a lot of nuance with that because gender not conforming and stuff like that. But literally, if I am sitting down in a chair doing absolutely nothing, the first thing people see about me is my skin. They don't know that I'm a lesbian, but they know I'm Black. When I see you, Lovely Lor, sitting in a chair and I've never met you before, let's say no one ever know who you were. The first thing that they don't see is that you're a lesbian or that you're sapphic or that you're queer. They see that you are white. That's a privilege. Yep. And like, it sucks. Privilege is supposed to suck. It's supposed to be something that you never asked for, but that you have. When I go up and walk upstairs, it's, you know, I don't think about how that's a privilege to be able to walk upstairs and not have a ramp for people who have mobility aids. That is a privilege, and it does make me uncomfortable, and it should, because you didn't ask for it. Everything should be accessible to everybody. Yeah, that's the point. It's supposed to make you uncomfortable because it sucks. You not knowing what was going on in 2 places of residency where you have taken residency is a privilege. And then her reaction to everything was a panic. It was, oh, I'm sorry. It was, I followed Lovely Lor for quite some time. I've seen her vague posting tweets about how she doesn't like cancel culture when she doesn't know the history of cancel culture and how cancel culture was a term, technically AAVE, coined by Black people to bring awareness of racism and fascism and messed up things that companies do and how we should not give them our money if they're not going to support us. And then white influencers were like, oh no, don't cancel me. Meanwhile, people are still buying Jeffree Star palettes. So like, you don't get to talk about this and you don't get to have nuance because you're not a part of the community that coined this term. Y'all demonized it, but you have so much to say about something you don't know about. But you know when to make an apology. You know when you've messed up and you're afraid to lose a Patreon. You know when you don't want to look bad. The Lovely Lor situation bothers me because nothing is going to happen. She's going to make an apology. All Lolitas, including Black Lolitas, who have been like, it doesn't bother me. It's just a mistake. I've accidentally liked tweets before, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's fine. That's great. I appreciate your input, but your experience does not erase the experience of other people who are uncomfortable. I see the Lovely Lor situation an annoyance because I know how this works. I've seen other influencers, I've seen other white people, and our society caters to whiteness and white fragility and white femininity. And she's gonna make an apology video, probably crying and not wearing makeup. And she's gonna just be like, I'm so sorry. Be kind to Black people during this time. Like, I know how it's gonna go. It's gonna be, she apologized. Why are you still talking about it? Let's move on. She's such a sweet person. She will not see an issue with that. She will not understand the power that she has as a person that is perceived as a white woman.
I think the most confrontational she's ever been is just to blatantly put a PSA and say, please don't harass these people, instead of getting in these people's faces and being intolerant. That's what I mean by intolerant versus not tolerating. She's very much the type of person that's like, I don't tolerate these things.
And like Lovely Lor, with everything that's happened, like, I think what really bothered me is not the fact that she made a mistake, because I've made mistakes, right? Had you just been like, yeah, actually, I literally followed this person because they're white, thin, and have a lot of followers and do cute makeup. And so I was mindlessly going on Instagram, liking pictures, as you do. Because let's not lie about what an influencer's life is like. Okay, like, we all know that you all put up a facade to be one way when you're not. So just be real. You have a bunch of people that you follow, either for clout, because inspo, whatever. You do that because that's what influencers do. You were liking someone's picture without really realizing because, oh, cute white girl wearing American colors, LOL, like, okay, you weren't paying attention. You were being insensitive to the situation. Had you just been straightforward and said, yeah, I was being dumb, and you guys have every right to be upset with me for me being dumb and my ignorance. You like literally that is what I did. And left it at that and let people be in their feelings. And then from that point, try to be better. I think I would have had a little bit better response, but that was not her response. Her response was, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. I'm so sorry. What should I do? I'm like, just be nice. Like I did this and I wasn't aware and I'm so sorry. And like people were even in this thread with this Black person, and I'm using they them because I forget their pronouns, but people have been like, Laura, this is a history of behavior. Like, this isn't the first time that you've been like this. And she's been like, well, can you tell me what I did? Like, you give me examples. And like, one of the examples was something happening in a community Laura was a part of. And her response was literally, I just like to talk about like Lolita and like cute stuff on my blog. And like, I just don't really want to talk about like negative stuff, you know? Like, it's not really what I do. It's a pattern of behavior that people are going to continue catering to. And that is why I'm annoyed, because she is not going to change. This could have been a learning experience. I'm not mad at you, Lor, because you made a mistake. I'm mad at you, Lor, because this is the continued pattern of behavior that people are going to enable and people around you are going to enable, and you're not going to change because you don't like criticism. You take it very personally when criticism doesn't have to be like that. It is what it is. And she has enough of a following that she doesn't have to see repercussions for little actions like this. So if it's not ruining her money, then why does it matter? Right. If you say you care enough, it will please enough people, and then you can just move on. And I don't want to look at it that way and be that cruel. But that is just how people have been. That's how a lot of white people have been. That's how a lot of people with power and influence have been. It only affects you if it, ruins your reputation or ruins your money. And like, Laura has not been trying to make the Black community, like, as far as Lolitas, feel welcomed. I thought she was. I had faith in her. I've spoken to her twice in DMs. I've thanked her once for mentioning me in her video, because it really did help other Black and plus size people feel comfortable seeing someone like me. She didn't have to do that. She did it during Black History Month, but she did it. And that was nice of her to use her platform in that way. But she's not made POC Lolitas feel comfortable, and it is what it is. Like, you growing is gonna be uncomfortable, but you don't want to be uncomfortable. So you're not gonna grow. It is what it is. And it sucks. And I don't want it to be this way, but it is what it is. And that is my issue with it. I'm so sorry. I know I'm sounding like really mean right now, but like,
you have nothing to apologize for.
I
appreciate your honesty.
Sorry, my phone is screaming at me.
Do you want me to get my extension cord?
Yes.
Okay, let's see.
I'll take a break then here if you need it.
Okay.
No, Rue, you literally don't have to apologize. I like seriously, like you really don't. Like the whole reason why I'm doing it is just to listen. Like, I mean, this is a learning experience for me, but like I really hope like other people like actually like sit down and really listen that, oh shit, okay, maybe let me get my head out my ass. And
I've been so frustrated because I've been seeing like other Black Lolitas nuance on the situation, and a lot of people are like, what's the big deal? And like, I can see that. Like, I can honestly see what's the big deal. My issue isn't that she liked the picture. It really isn't. My issue is her repeated behavior and how people enable this repeated behavior, and how like she's not really changing. Just call a spade, That's my issue. Is that she's saying she's one way when she's not. So like, don't lie, but like also
be honest with yourself.
Like, when you become an influencer, you unfortunately kind of like sign an unwritten agreement that people are gonna just have access to your privacy. And like, when you get that popular, yeah, I think so. I don't know Apple products.
You're gonna see my face. Hi. It's charging.
Very good.
Like, unfortunately, like, it sucks and I don't agree with it, but like, people are also paying you, so you gotta work a little harder.
Yeah.
It is what it is. It's not easy. I have made mistakes. Like, I have hurt people, And it sucks. And there are things that I think about that I've done that I do not like that I've done. We have brownies on the table. Don't mind us. But like, there are things that I've done that have hurt people, and I'll have to live with that. And I can't take away the hurt, but the only thing I can do, as at least as like I've learned my lesson, is to do better. That person doesn't have to forgive me. Those people don't have to forgive me. But I'm doing it a service to myself if I don't grow. I'm doing it a service to myself if I don't like criticize myself and be better. But like, she's not gonna do that. Why would she? She's gonna have people. She's gonna have Black people saying it's fine. She's gonna have people saying it's fine. She's gonna have fat, skinny, tall, disabled, able-bodied people telling her it's okay.
Yeah.
So she's gonna say, well, if people are telling me it's fine, then I don't have to do it. Mm-hmm. But that's not the point of self-growth. Yeah. The point of self-growth is for yourself.
Just because you have a bunch of diverse yes men does not mean you're going to grow. In fact, that is only going to harm you in the end.
Yeah.
And I feel like what she has to do, and a lot of other influencers have to do, is like call to attention why exactly they're being an influencer. Like, who are you influencing? Who are you wanting to influence? If we want to be an essentially walking human ad, that's fine, but you have to like present that. You can't be like, oh yeah, I'm here for Lolita so that everybody can feel good in the fashion. Okay,
but not everybody feels good.
Yeah, and it's because of your action or inaction. And a lot of people don't understand that it's not only due to what you do, but also what you don't do. And a lot of people are thinking like, well, what have I done? I'm like, that's the thing, you haven't done
anything.
I've seen more of your little devil-inspired sponsorships, your bodyline sponsorships, than I have seen you physically surround yourself with Black people, and not just because they chose you to be a model in their fashion shows. Like, I'm not seeing it at all. And if I do see it, it's again more yes men, more people who think more so for an individualistic than a collectivist situation. And it's tiring. I'm over it.
And like, I get it, because it's not just like white people just have to do everything for Black people. It's not what I'm saying. But like, don't use the word ally if you're not actually going to be an ally. That word is a heavy, powerful word. I actually made a reference to this on Twitter before I took my hiatus, and I was just like, people will literally say they're an ally and say POC people. Yeah. I'm like, that is, POC means people of color. Are you actively using that language? Mm-hmm. Ask yourself that.
And it's one thing to like, slip up because it's such a common thing. It is. But like, they're constantly just doing that. And I'm like, you're just trying to say color.
And then like, if you have talked to other Black people, you would know a lot of Black people don't like to be called people of color. The experience of people of color versus Black people are very different. If you're talking to someone who is Hispanic, visibly Black, and West Asian, yeah, you could say collectively, I was talking to a group, like, but like Black people, when you're talking specifically about Black people,
this whole interview thing is not about people of color, it is about Black people.
Right.
So like, but you wouldn't know that because you're not actively putting yourself in these environments. You're not seeking it out. And I get it. We want to be around what's comfortable for us. But like, you don't get to say you're doing something and then not do it. Then that's a lie. If you're being an ally, then what are you doing to ally yourself? Are you just specifically asking for the labor of Black people to educate you without money? I had someone ask me questions about something that was very triggering for me. And I said, I do this because I care, but that was a lot that you asked of me to do. And I just woke up and they were like, well, do you want me to pay you for your time? Genuinely. And I was like, yeah, actually, I would appreciate that because I don't wake up wanting to just talk about race all the time. Right. That's my experience. But Lovely Lor never would have thought like, I'm going to pay this person for their time and resources. Not only have I hurt them, I'm asking for their emotional labor for something that I did. Never thought to pay them.
I've only seen her crowdfund once, but that was during the resurgence since the summer of the Black Lives Matter movement.
And then it's well, I don't have the money to pay people for their influence. You can go to a university and talk to Black scholars for free. They're paid with the university. You can go to Black spaces and speak to people that have nonprofit funds. You can you can literally seek out this information yourself. It's a lot of work, but we live in a society where we're spoiled. We don't want to do a lot of hard work anymore. I get it. I don't want to do it sometimes either, but you got to do it though, because you gotta. And if you don't do it, you don't get to say you did.
Right.
It's really that simple. If you don't want to be an ally, then don't do it. But you don't get to say you're an ally and then don't do the work. I say I'm an ally because I've done the work and I'm still doing work. It is not a completed task. It's an ongoing process. But it's not just like, oh, I did a lot of research yesterday, so like I'm taking a break from Black people today. I'm done.
That's
No.
rights for today.
Yeah, that's enough. That's enough equality for today. You know what I'm saying? No, it's not how it works. It is exhausting. It's work. Work can be exhausting. But like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just built different. But like, I could never get exhausted from wanting to learn about the experiences of other people and help them. Yes, stuff hurts my heart. Right. But like, if I am hurting people, my brain, I guess, is just like, I need to be better. I don't want to sit here and give them sorries, because sorries don't make the pain go away. Exactly. But I don't want to hurt anyone else. And so I'm going to be uncomfortable and I'm going to put myself in spaces that are going to make me uncomfortable so I can be better, because I just want to be a better human. Exactly. But people say things like, I want to be a better human, but they don't know what that looks like. They just think toxic positivity and ooh woo and hugs and like, no, like I get it. Like I like giving love too, and I'm awkward, but it also means putting in the work. And like, and I know if Lovely Lor ever saw this video, she would be offended because she's like, I do put in the work. And I'm like, you do put in work. You're not putting in the right work. And you're not putting in effort. Like, you know, clearly something, there's a disconnect. Mm-hmm. But yeah.
Well, quite honestly, I hope Lovely Lor does watch this video, because I feel like this could be a resource for her to listen and learn about really Black struggles in Lolita and in general. Like, I just feel like this would actually be a free resource on YouTube, because I'm not monetized, so this is literally a free resource for you, Lor.
So she has no excuse.
Yeah, I mean, even Jade did that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like that's a free resource.
Exactly. Yeah. Now talk about other, I guess, white Lolitas. Now there was another Lolita that was exposed to be a Nazi sympathizer, and we are talking about DeeDeeZeta. Mm-hmm. How do y'all feel about that? I don't know if you were on Twitter when this happened. This was literally the next day after.
Yeah, I did see. I did. And that I said I was gonna take a break, but then I was like, no, I'm gonna go back on Twitter because like I just want to know what's going on, because like I'm worried about a lot of my friends and stuff. Mm-hmm. And mainly not because of the Lovely Lor thing, but because of what was happening in the country. Because I'm like, what's happening in Ohio? It's, you know, but then I saw that too, and I was like, yeah, I actually need to take a break. Like, I think I'm done.
But my whole take on that is more or less the same with Lovely Lor, however, a bit more harsh, just because of the outright displays of not only anti-Semitism, anti-Blackness, anti-Indigenousness, but also, did I say anti-Semitism?
I think no, you didn't.
Anti-Semitism, Zionism, all that. Orientalism, discrimination against Asian people, not just East Asian, of course, but like the entire country, like people like to forget, but you know. And I don't know what exactly went into her responding to being called in. I'm sure it was either, it's not a big deal, it was a long time ago, yada yada yada. When you're on the internet as a Black person, you just get used to not only white people but non-Black people of color's same responses. Yep. It was a long time ago. I didn't know. Who cares?
Yeah. I had a racist phase.
Even though I totally impacted Black children. I should be forgiven for that, and you should get over it, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So that's been my take on it. I've been a little bit more taking a step back about it, just because I know where I'm at. I don't associate with fascists. I call a spade a spade. She is a fascist. That's what it is. If it walks like a duck, if it quacks like a duck, guess what? It's a duck, sort of thing. I take that sort of approach. And a lot of people like to say that, I know these questions are coming up, but a lot of people like to say that Lolita fashion is not a political fashion, and it is. It is a living movement. It has everything to do with politics. So when you align yourself with these sort of things, or like these sort of things come into question, you can't act like Lolita fashion isn't existing in a bubble. You like to talk about diversity and whatnot, like, okay, let's talk about diversity of thought. I'm not going to be here a communist breaking bread with a fascist, you know what I mean? I believe in diversity of thought. However, again, not breaking bread with those types of people. I believe in, accountability. I believe in restorative. I believe in having open dialogue. I believe in being called in, and I believe in challenging things. And the fact that she kind of just, again, fell back on her white privilege and was like, oh, it's part of my fashion. Oh, military stuff is used constantly in goth fashion, which I personally believe this, that, and the third. Okay, but it still hurts people. Forget your excuses. Forget your explanation. It still hurts people. What are you going to do about it? As far as I know, she hasn't done anything, but that's just because, again, I wouldn't say I had more of a personal thing with Lovely Lor, because I just have learned not to have really, or I made a promise to myself not to, or try not to have these personal relationships with influencers, just because, one, they are people, two, celebrities, influencers are going to disappoint me. And I would much rather put that sort of energy into my interpersonal relationships rather than somebody who was online untouchable, especially at her caliber.
Yeah.
But I guess it would be more personal in the sense of, like, I did follow her at one point. I did look up to Lovely Lor at one point, whereas I had never heard of this woman ever. I never heard of this person ever. I was like, what? But again, also I thought, like, with a trained eye, a lot of people were like, oh my gosh, I didn't know this is so I'm like, I have a trained eye to these sort of things. How did you guys not know? But that's just another thing. But just my sentiments are more or less the same, but again, more harsh because she is, like, blatantly a fascist. I don't know about Lovely Lor's political affiliations. I personally think she is a lukewarm person. I would not know her political affiliations because she does not have a particular stance on anything that is not directly benefiting her.
Right.
Whereas
Quite honestly, even though she's lovely, that doesn't mean that you can't have a stance on things. Like, and I feel like people just have that mentality, like, oh, she's Lovely Lor, so she can't think this way or that. No, she probably does, but
like, you feel very strongly about, for instance, replicas. Why can't you have that same instance on child endangerment with the whole
or the Lolita fashion tag on Twitter and Instagram? Because when that Lolita fashion was trending on Twitter, everyone and their moms and grandmas was defending that for, like, it was the last thing of their life.
Yep. Yeah, it's a whole endangerment thing. And, like, it's not that, okay, a lot of people were saying that, like, oh yeah, she doesn't support it. I'm like, okay, but she also doesn't not support it, if that makes any sense. Like, you're telling me, like, yes, this is bad, but she's also going at it in a very tiptoeing through the tulip sort of thing. Like, I need to know if you don't, like, vehemently don't like this, or, like, if you're anywhere in between, I'm automatically going to assume you're siding. Silence and neutrality is siding with the oppressor. And I believe, cannot remember the man's name, but there's a lot going on. But so many people have said that, leaders who were involved in the Holocaust, members who were involved in the first civil rights movement of the 1960s. A lot of people will say that right is the language of the unheard, and yet so many people are okay with these influencers being neutral and forgetting that it's not about necessarily action all the time, but rather inaction. What aren't you doing? How are you showing that you are against this? Because you just saying, I don't like it, I think you probably shouldn't. We don't have time for that. Children don't have the time to, wait for people to maybe care about them. It's either you do or you don't at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's, again, with DeeDee, I, again, don't know the woman, don't care to know the woman. I just know that, again, I see a fascist, I run the other way. I walk the other way.
Yeah.
I don't have much commentary on it. It's just like, wow, that's bad. It's vehemently bad. It's something that we should avoid. That's something we should be intolerant about. That's something we should not welcome in our community. That's something that's a no-go. A lot of people talk about gatekeeping, and it's like, sometimes we need to close the gate because there's too many people who are being hurt in this community, and we, instead of saying, hey, this is not okay, you need to go away, we are more willing, and I say we as in, like, as a community, not necessarily like personal, but this community just has an issue with closing people who are predatory, unless of course it's like, unless it's like straight up in our face, like, men who fetishize this fashion, I'll put it that way. those types of people, it's easy because we're so far removed from that. But when it comes to people who, again, look like a lot of people that you see in this community, a lot of people find it hard. And it's the whole cognitive dissonance sort of thing. It's like, I like this fashion, this person likes this fashion, I think this fashion is good, so therefore I'm going to do everything that I can to put this person in a good light, even though we may not agree. It's the whole agree to disagree thing. So
yeah, I agree with you, Annie, because it's so much like likability politics, and also like people who are seen conventionally attractive based on societal standards also get passes.
Yeah.
I don't know this person. I don't know their gender nor pronouns, but I did see that, and I saw that a lot of people were saying, well, like, it's more historical. It's the whole, like, and I brought this up earlier, like the whole, oh, it's historical clothing, and it's like, I like historical clothing. I also am not tone deaf.
not
like, it's really not that hard. And like, like, oh my, it makes me sick for people to just be that way and look and like literally use that as an excuse. Like, I cannot express enough that people will defend and die for this fashion, but not the people who wear it. Y'all care about the elastic being stressed on a dress. Y'all care about that's not even yours. Y'all will DM people on Lace Market on a dress they bought 2 years ago, asking when they're gonna resell it. Y'all care more about alterations to a skirt than you care about the person wearing it. Y'all do not, and like that is an issue. And it's in like I don't know if it happens in a bunch of other communities. I don't care. We're not talking about those communities right now. But this community has a problem with depersonalization of the people in the community, escapism that needs to be addressed because it is killing and harming people. That person, it's just like Jordan said, like, call a spade a spade. That person is disgusting. I don't care what their sob story is. I don't care how they feel. That's not a person to me. That is a person that is going, like, that is just a being, an existing whatever. It's unacceptable. Like, that is just, it's that's so far gone. And you know what's so funny about that though? Is that I have seen people on Twitter being like, it's not a big deal about the whole Lovely Lor thing. Like, Black people cry wolf to everything. Okay. And then you have a literal fascist wearing like
Nazi memorabilia. And
y'all will still look at that and say, but it's fashion, it's historical, what's the big deal? Black people, we will literally be called an N-word to our face, and someone will still say, what's the big deal? You guys say it. It's like, so when do you care about Black people and the existence of Black people? When will you finally say, enough is enough, this isn't okay? What is the event? What is the limit to when you will actually care about Black people? Do we actually have to die? Because that's happened. Because we have. And y'all would still say the mother uses the death for money. Well, she bought herself a nice purse. Clearly doesn't care that her son's dead. And I don't want to get that dark, but really, like, I'm in this fashion, but I exist outside this fashion, and I know how people are, and I've seen how people are. And like, when will y'all actually care about the feelings of someone else that isn't you? When will you care about the experiences? When will it be enough? Because what I've seen in the many years that I've existed, people haven't cared. I've never seen someone say, this is the limit, because there really isn't one. You want to use that as an excuse to avoid accountability, to avoid the fact that you're being a little shitty. But in truth, you actually don't care to know what the limit is because you don't care. You don't see people as people. You just know that this talk of racism makes you uncomfortable, probably because you have some things that you have to unlearn. I did. But like, you know, I'm a very blunt person. And if you have a problem, you should say it. And a lot of these people, for the fact that they don't want to be ostracized from communities and because they want to look lovely, they won't say it with their chest. Especially not to someone's face. They'll say it behind a anime profile picture on Twitter. But, you know, I get it. I see through it. I already know. I look at that situation. I already know how it's going to go. Y'all don't care. All it was just triggering content for someone else. and I retweeted to spread awareness because I don't want people to have to succumb to that. But I already know how the community is going to feel. Like, this community is so lukewarm, which is so ironic because we are inherently a political fashion. All alternative fashion is a sub-fashion from the norm, inherently making it political. I've seen, like, I'm a punk. I actually even consider myself a punk as far as, like, my political stance. I consider myself a punk. And there are people that don't know the history of punks. There are people, like, oh God, that's a whole other thing. Like, there are people saying that punk isn't political. You saying punk isn't political is the same thing as, like, saying Lolita's not political. They're both political. It just is. Yeah. And, you know, there are certain things I don't even consider political. I don't consider Black Lives Matter political. That's just people wanting to exist. That's it. How is that political? Like, people talk about pro-life, all that stuff. I don't consider that political. That's people wanting autonomy over their bodies. How is that political? How is someone's body political? But, you know, but that's just how I see things. And I look at Lolita and it's just like, how do you not know the history of Lolita? Y'all are just cosplaying at this point. Because Lolita specifically is not dressing for the male gaze and to dress for yourself. And it means completely different to each person. Someone who is fat wearing Lolita, yes, it is politically charged, but a fat person taking up space and wearing Lolita and being extravagant means completely different to someone who might be thin. A Black Lolita wearing Lolita and being extravagant and overly feminine in a society that says that Black women are not even pretty is a completely different political statement than a white woman. Like, it is always going to be politically charged, even if they vary. And, like, because our society says that we have to be desirable to men, period. You going against that in any shape, way, or form is seen as political. Like, oh my gosh, I could literally go back into history and all the different ways that people dress non-conforming. But anytime you dress away from what society deems is acceptable is a statement. And that's okay. But let's be real about it. Like, let's say it is what it is. Right. Lolita is a political statement in the form of foreign fabrics and expensive lace. It is what it is. So, like, don't pretend it's not, you know? If anything, that's insulting. It's insulting to say that Lolita is not political. It spits and steps on all the Lolitas before us and the people that made this what it is. It literally, it spits on their face because it started in Japan. And I think about the Japanese people of that time in, like, the 80s, the 90s, and what they probably went through. Like, there's the whole, like, the 2 steps behind a man thing. Like, Japan is a very conservative country, and people forget that. And, like, just thinking about how you would have to be perceived in Japan. There are people in Japan that identify as ex-gender, but aren't even able to express that because of how their society is. And just imagining the footwork they put into this fashion so they can exist. And for some random white conservative in the Middle East saying that's not what it is, insulting, disrespectful, could not be me.